Gabago, over here.
Welcome back to Two Film Buffs, and today we're going to be going over the top 10 episodes of The Sopranos.
Wow.
At number 10 on our list, we have Marco Polo. The Sopranos often had episodes that felt like self-contained ensemble stage productions, in which the most important actions were confined to a single location: Pine Barrens, the woods, Mr. and Mrs. John Sacramone's request, a wedding, and the Soprano home movies, Bobby and Janet's lake house, all fit into that category. But this gem from Michael Imperioli, actor Christopher Moltisanti, and writer of this episode, and the late great John Patterson, might be the best of them all. This is the one where Carmela's dad, Hugh, insists that she invite her soon-to-be ex-husband Tony to his birthday party that is at Tony's house.
My own house?
To Carmela's surprise, as well as Tony's, and everyone watching at home at the time, they end up falling into old rhythms and end up spending their nights together. Setting them on the road to getting back together. The plot miraculously builds towards a predetermined outcome, but it all seemed to happen organically, even randomly, from one moment to the next, because the characters were so finely drawn and the performances were so expertly delivered. This awesome episode also has a second plot, which is just as compelling. When Tony Soprano's cousin, Tony Blondetto, actor and director Steve Buscemi,
self-taught, no lessons, thank you very much, Pop,
takes his two sons to the party, and they were so blown away by the Sopranos family's wealth that it made the father feel a little inadequate and foolish. In a sense, it's the emotions from this episode that lead to his relapse into the crime world, and ultimately, his death. Number 9. Made in America. The series finale is the only episode besides the pilot that was both written and directed by David Chase. This series finale is remembered mainly for its concluding 4 minutes. A dreamlike dinner with the Soprano family ending in a strangely timed cut to black that inspired debates whether about Tony lived or died, and even if that question mattered. That sequence alone, an audacious gambit worthy of the 1960s art film that David Chase adored as a young film student, would be enough to secure the spot on any list for the greatest finales. But it's not just those 4 minutes, the rest of the episode is remarkable too, packing 2 hours worth of incidents into a drum-tight 60 minutes, focusing on the crime family and a blood family reckoning with the implications of their past decisions, whilst facing a cloudy future. It's also one of the most hilarious episodes, mixing absurd imagery, like AJ narrowly escaping an exploding SUV, whilst Bob Dylan's It's Alright Ma, I'm Only Bleeding plays on the stereo. In classic Sopranos tradition, it owns up to the frustrations that Chase has built into his scripts, and so many others. Chase's history of challenging and occasionally teasing the fans finally reaches its end here, with onlookers reacting to Phil Leotardo's gruesome death by staring in googly-eyed fascination, then getting sick to their stomachs.
Oh shit!
And the family's longtime nemesis, FBI agent Dwight Harris, reacting with delight because he picked Phil to get whacked next in a Sopranos-themed betting pool.
I won! Yeah, I won!
Number 8. The Test Dream. The most ambitious, dream-driven episode of a series that did many. The Test Dream is built around a nearly 20-minute uninterrupted sequence set in Tony Soprano's slumbering mind. It's comical, intellectual, and crude, filled with violent and eerie images and situations that explore the similarities between dreaming and filmmaking. It weaves in and out of reality so swiftly that it's initially hard to figure out where real leaves off and the imagined begins. It antes up on past dream sequences, even the one in Season 2, Funhouse. By having Tony observe events that are close to things that occurred on the outside world whilst he was dreaming, merging the conscious and subconscious worlds that the show had originally kept separate. The Test Dream feels more like a missing link between Season 2's From Where to Eternity, in which Chris describes a purgatorial world that he saw whilst he was clinically dead and insists it wasn't a dream, and Season 6's Join the Club and Mayhem, which let Tony wander around in that sort of space, being examined, judged, and challenged, minus the comforts that lucid dreaming usually provides. The episode also has a guest appearance by Annette Bening herself, cameos by several deceased characters, and a scene where James Gandolfini gets to ride a horse through the living room. At number 7, we have Second Opinion. The title of the episode was Second Opinion because the two main characters, Carmela and Uncle Junior, both seek second opinions, because they're not initially happy with their first opinion. Uncle Junior being treated for cancer, and Tony's convinced that he's settling for substandard treatment because his oncologist is named John Kennedy. But more important to the story is about Carmela. She attends a couples therapy session without Tony, and starts to cry when she tells Dr. Melfi that there's nothing that she can do to heal Tony. Melfi, who had been pushing Carmela to reckon with her husband's criminality and her complicity in it, sends her to another therapist, Dr. Krakowa. He refuses to allow Carmela to avoid responsibility, warning her that she is subsitting on blood money and can only help her if she leaves Tony and takes nothing with her except the kids. It's a warning to us as well as the audience, as well as Carmela. If you allow yourself to be charmed by these murderous bullies, it's because some part of you wants to be, and you need to come to terms with this. At number 6, The Knight in White Satin Armor. Directed by Sopranos veteran Alan Taylor, who also directed The Many Saints of Newark, this will forever be known as the one where Janice shoots Richie, as well as one of the most influential episodes of any television show ever made. It taught its contemporaries and successors that you could shock viewers not just with what happened, but how and when. Timing had never before been used in such a devastating dramatic weapon. Most people expected that Tony would kill Richie, personally or by proxy. Or perhaps that Richie's impending marriage to Janice would force Tony to accept him into the family, despite hating his guts. Setting up another ongoing slow burn feud, but it wasn't just the blindsiding effect of Janice doing the deed herself that stunned viewers, it's the fact that it happened in a penultimate episode of season 2, clearing the deck of one of the most diversive season finales with the dream-driven cryptic episode of Funhouse. Beyond that, Robin Green and Mitchell Burgess' script is a masterpiece of construction.
You won't cry now.
At number 5, Employee of the Month. Standing up against its own fanbase's power fantasy identification with Tony and the gang, as well as 4 decades of rape and revenge cliches, this episode gives Dr. Melfi an opportunity to use her scariest patient as a blunt instrument to smash the man who sexually assaulted her. Her decision is expressed by one syllable.
No.
Followed by the series' first ever cut to black ending. It's a denial of an outcome that led the audience, Melfi's son and ex-husband, and maybe Melfi herself, on some level, that they all craved. Written like many Soprano classic episodes, by Green and Burgess, and directed by Patterson, it stays close to Melfi in nearly every scene, and examines the aftermath of her attack in far greater detail than the actual attack itself, which lasted around 90 seconds of screen time. If you're a Dr. Melfi fan, this is the ultimate episode for you, speaking to the good doctor's rigorous moral code, which bends but never breaks.
My ankles are broken! Ah! My ankles are broken! They're surely broken!
At number 4 on our list, we have Whitecaps. Another perfect episode by Green, Burgess and Patterson, co-written by Chase. Carmela throws Tony out of the house after discovering yet another one of his affairs, setting the stage for a series of increasingly raw confrontations between the couple that draw on everything from the honeymooners to Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. It may be the ultimate showcase for James Gandolfini and Edie Falco's combustible chemistry. I remember the first time I watched this episode and I was just so happy for Carmela for finally growing a backbone and standing up for herself. And the subplots are strong too, particularly Christopher getting out of rehab, Tony escalating tensions with Big Carmine's New York family, and Tony's attempt to get back his deposit on the second home he was trying to buy for Carmela and the family. Whitecaps is seriously one of the best episodes of The Sopranos, with some of the best acting that you will see in any TV series. Coming in at number 3, we have the epic and most hilarious episode of The Sopranos, Pine Barrens. Written by one of the writing staff's MVPs, Terrence Winter, and directed by the legendary Steve Buscemi.
Wedding singer.
This is one of the most visually arresting episodes of The Sopranos, as well as the funniest and saddest. It's the one where Chris and Paulie are hunting in the snowy woods for the Russian gangster they tried and failed to kill in order to cover up their own incompetence. But there's a lot more of the marvellous housekeeping stuff woven around that, all dealing with Tony's tendencies to shrugging off his obligations as the mob boss, husband, father and boyfriend, and run away before anyone can call him to account. Like other episodes in season 3, in particular, Proshai Livuska, the one where Livia dies, and Amor Fu, the end of Tony and Gloria's relationship. Pine Barrens also imitates that supernatural forces might have been afoot in the Sopranos' land. but it always stays on the right side of plausible deniability, leaving it up to viewers to make the case for or against the world being beyond the rational. For me, Pine Barrens put two of my favourite characters in one spot where they couldn't run away from each other, and I absolutely loved it.
You're not gonna believe this. He killed 16 Czechoslovakians. Guy was an interior decorator.
This house looked like shit.
At number 2 on our list, we have College. Written by David Chase and James Manos Jr. and directed by Alan Coulter, this was a medium-altering episode of television. It showed its main character literally dirtying his hands through murder for the first time on screen.
Oh my God, nobody look! Nobody look! Nobody look!
Up until then, Tony had been more of a de-escalator and somebody who subcontracted the nasty stuff. While touring colleges with his daughter Meadow, the deft juggling of vendetta and father-daughter slapstick would have made this episode stand out regardless. But what makes it an all-time classic is the way it balances Tony and Meadow's story with another two-hander, where Carmela spends a flirtatious but ultimately chaste night with the local priest, Father Phil, and ultimately consummates him with spirituality. Although an impromptu confession of her complicity of her husband's evil doing, the creative decision was concentrating on these four main characters and sidelining everyone else, including Chris, who literally phones in his role. It was almost like an ensemble play where the stage goes dark and the two sets of couples take turns stepping into the spotlight.
Are you in the mafia?
And finally, at number 1 on our list, University. One of the greatest of all Sopranos episodes, as well as one of the hardest to watch. This is a level up from its inspiration, College. The A-plot is all about Tony's failure to nurture and protect the naive stripper named Tracy, who is having an affair with the violent gangster, Ralphie.
Little hoa.
A coked out bully who ultimately murders her for finding out that she's pregnant with his child. This horrifying storyline is juxtaposed with Meadow and her boyfriend Noah breaking up after Meadow's roommate, Catalin, comes between them. Not sexually, but by making emotional demands that neither of them are willing to meet. Both of these plotlines are about the carelessness and dehumanization, illustrating the sickening but very true human tendency to decide that other people's problems have nothing to do with you, then rationalize away the tragic result as a random cosmic dice roll. In therapy later, Tony describes Tracy's murder in a vague, dissociated way, changing her gender and calling it a workplace accident. Caitlin and Tracy's stories are mirrors, although the physical degradation varies because one young woman is upper middle class and the other is dirt poor. Meadow serves as a rhetorical bridge between all the different moral and physiological aspects of Terrence and Salvatore's screenplay, variously reminding us of Tracy, Caitlin, Carmela, and Tony. The Kink song Living on a Thin Line comments on the action, appearing 3 times in the soundtrack and establishing a link between the decay of the mafia, England, Rome, via Ralphie's gladiator fixation.
I have come to reclaim Rome for my people. How you doing?
I have come to reclaim Rome for my people!
America, and the patriarchy itself. Your unifying image of the garbage-strewn sewer pipe behind the bada bing reminds us that this is a show about waste and the waste potential, and the rules that ideology, greed and cruelty play in replicating it from one generation to the next era. I absolutely love The Sopranos. I think it is one of the best TV shows ever to be made. If it wasn't for this TV show, other shows like Breaking Bad and many more would not have come to fruition. If you haven't seen The Sopranos, I highly recommend you watch it. And if you have seen The Sopranos, please write down what is your favourite episode and why in the comments. Thanks for watching that video, guys. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe if you haven't already. I know I missed out some really good episodes. Please leave it down in the comments if you think there's ones that should have been on the list. And we'll see you next time.